All praise to the Most High YAHAWAH, the Heavenly Father, in the name of the Holy Spirit, the earthly Mother, sanctifying YAHAWAH, the Holy Son. Honor and respect to the chosen and the grafted, brothers and sisters, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome, Jews and Gentiles alike. This is your humble servant, Big Levi, and we are studying and commenting the book of Og, and this is chapter 3. And let's play a bit to cover that hissing in the background. So before we begin, I was trying to get everything together and this thing pop up. Psalm 27:14. Wait on the Lord, be of good courage, and he shall strengthen thine heart. Wait, I said, on the Lord. Okay, this is good. Now let us begin. 2 Timothy 2:15. Study to shew thyself approved unto God, a workman that needeth not to be ashamed, rightly dividing the word of truth. So we must study if we want to know the truth. We must rightly divide the word of truth. Okay, so how we do this? Wherefore the rather, brethren, that is 2 Peter 1:10. Wherefore the rather, brethren, give diligence. We have to give diligence to make your calling and election sure. For if ye do these things, ye shall never fall. Again, if we study and we'll see the lies, we'll understand where the stumbling blocks are, and we'll understand where the traps are. Okay, second stick, the book of Doctrine and Covenants. Okay, and Doctrine and Covenant 88, verse 118. And as all have not faith, seek ye diligently, and teach one another words of wisdom. Yea, seek ye out of the best books words of wisdom. Seek learning, even by study and also by faith. So we have to seek learning by studying the books, even though they are not part of the Bible, even though they were the book that was written by Gentiles. Satan himself, Cain wrote book too. All right, I believe Cain wrote this book right here, the book of Nod, the Chronicle of Cain. Anytime we have, I'm gonna see if I can get this book so we can study it. We have to study all the books, best books, because Cain is a liar, but he always tell the truth by lying. Okay, when those people are lying, you know they are telling the truth. So when they say they were the one, they were the Celtic, they were the best, they were this, they are the chosen, you know they are lying, and you know they meant it's us, so which is the truth. All right, let us begin. Okay, all right, let us begin. Chapter 3 of the lost book of King Og. Let's zoom in. Is that thing recording? Yes, it is. All right, now chapter 3, the giants and the 100,000 giant wall. This is the telling of the 100,000 giant wall, as transcribed by both Enoch, the keeper of the bodies before Baal, and Onzal, the slayer, the smaller cells before Baal of the moon. These are the deeds of the giants who fought with King Og against Nimrod. For our days were past in wrath, and our war is the tale that is told. King Og sent throughout all the known world for uncircumcised Rephaim to fight Nimrod and his circumcised army. So now those guys about to go to war. Again, it was prophesied that the Most High is going to destroy them by letting them fight each other, and they are going to destroy each other. So Og, he sent throughout the known world. So right here you can deduce that there's an unknown world. There's a world that, you know, they probably don't know. Because if anytime you say the known world, there's something that you don't know. Okay, so now King Og is preparing for war. he sent to get some of the giants. So the 100,000 giant war. So Og has like 100,000 and Nimrod got 100,000. So that's like 200,000. Remember, the only last female that was supposed to leave died. So you got like 200,000 men fighting. There are no females, no women. Okay, Leshta, she died while she gave birth, and then she becomes stiff and she died. And the little girl that she gave birth, Nimrod was trying to kidnap her, and then in a battle she got injured, then she died. So technically that's like a last battle, because there is no women. Like, how the hell you guys gonna keep up? But remember, the giants, they can live thousands of years. So make no mistake, they still have some today. We don't know yet. They probably. So we will study it. Only through studies and the Holy Spirit, they will reveal things to us. All right. And the word went forth to every outpost of giants, and they came to 6-fingered. Brothers and sisters, 6-fingered. A normal human like us have 5 fingers on each hand, but there's a group of giants, they had 6 fingers. Okay, and they came, the 6-fingered, the mountain builders, the heavy weapon makers from the cold lands. We could assume, again, the cold land, we're not going to say Antarctica. Oh, by the way, there was just a video. Let me see if I can get that video right quick. I believe it was Mr. UB News. I mean, Mr. MBBB33 something. They find something in the Atlantic. I mean, the Antarctica. Okay, I believe that's in my... Okay, that's in my other phone, other account. Okay, they found some. Okay, melting ice reveal undeniable 60 feet wide disc stuck in Antarctica. Okay, I'm going off track a little. You know, I do this all the time. So melting ice. We'll check this video later. Melting ice reveal undeniable 60 feet wide disc stuck in the ground in Antarctica, ancient craft. So they usually buried when they find something. They give the location though. I believe it's somewhere around here. You can see the thing, the craft that they found in Antarctica. So probably later we will look at it. Okay, because the ice is melting and then things will start to showing up, because the planet is slowly shifting and stuff like that. Now, when they say the cold land, they probably meant, well, because back then all our land wasn't cold, even Greenland wasn't cold. So they probably mean most likely right here by Russia, because the mass land of Russia is just a very barren land. Okay, the Mongolia, Russia. Oh, I think we have that thing upside down. Here we go, right here. It's better. Okay, I think they mean somewhere around here though. So those giants, they were coming from the cold land. Okay, the very northern most of Europe, Belarus, Russia, those are cold land. Okay, they were coming from the cold land. All right, so there were giants over there. There are giants all over the world. Okay, but they are sent message, then everybody gonna come for combat. They're gonna come for the war. All right. So, and they came the 6-fingered. That's a group of giant that has 6-fingered. The mountain builders, those probably the strongest. The heavy weapon makers from the cold land. So those guys that live in the cold land, they were the heavy weapon makers. Okay, the dragon siblings from the east, brothers and sisters. That's like a mutation, a mutant type of giants. The dragon siblings from the east, and the 20,000 giants that came with them. So they had 20,000 giants that came with them, and all in one, 100,000 giants representing every colony, color, and creed and the known world. So now you got different, man, that is well placed, well said. So all this giant, they were representing every colony, color, and creed. So you had the black giant, you got some white giant, you got some green giant, all colors, okay, representing colors in creed. And in the known world, again, there's an unknown world they don't know. All right, let's move in. Then King Og, anointing his 7 braids, so he had dreads, and beard with oil, he stood before 100,000 of them all in the high places of Baal of the earth, and looking over his warriors and kingdom, he screamed with a voice that all Rephaim heard, for Baal of the earth and for the loss of the moon child, we go to war. So Baal, Og, he wanted to, because this is it, man. The only 2 women the only 2. Okay, all right, that's my phone. The only 2 women that they know, they died, the mother and the daughter. So because of that, they're going to go to war. Okay, their race is going extinct because there's no women left, and 2 men cannot make it. We're not gonna even go to to this, but and when the moon was full next, war broke out between Og's and Nimrod's kingdom. Og and his giants fought against the circumcised, and the circumcised and Nimrod fought back. The Rephaim were driven on by the death of the moon child, and their hatred of circumcision hardened their resolve. These are the Rephaim of significant stature that fought with King Og on the field of battle of the 100,000 giant war. So they're going to give the name of the dudes, the side that joined King Og when they were battling. So this is those guys, and they create the title. Remember, brothers and sisters, this book was written by a narcissist. So those guys, they always gonna make themselves look like whatever, the best. Enoch, we know Enoch in the Bible, when I think in book of Numbers, when they were crossing to the Holy Land, they mentioned that they saw the sons of Enoch. So Enoch was in the war too. Enoch, the keeper of the bodies before Baal. Enoch, whose dark ones shrouded over him with unspeakable darkness. Enoch, who spoke the incantation to raise the dead. Just like zombies. Okay, again, let's stop a little. For those of you who don't know, the word zombie, the very word zombie, definition. Okay, always you type the word zombie or Edomite woman show up. Okay, zombie, the very word zombie, noun, a corpse say that be revived by witchcraft, especially in certain African and Caribbean religion. So when they say African and Caribbean, they mean our people. All right, a tall mixed drink. Okay, whatever. So let's see if we can get zombie Wikipedia. All right, the word zombie. Okay, a zombie, Haitian French zombie, Haitian Creole zombie. It is a fictional undead, fictional my ass. It is a fictional undead corporeal. My computer is very far from me. I can't really see. Revenant created through the reanimation of a corpse. Zombies are commonly found in horror and fantasy genre works. Okay, so the very first time they heard of this word zombie was from our people, quote unquote, the so-called Levites, the Haitians. So, brothers and sisters, what they are calling zombies is they swagger jack zombies. They make the movie. They portrayed everybody as white, and as they do all the time. Okay, if you research zombies, and you'll find out what they are portrayed is not what it is at all. Folk belief, Haitian tradition. Zombies are featured widely in Haitian rural folklore as dead person physically revived by the act of necromancy of a bakar, a sorcerer or witch. The bakar is opposed by the Hugan, priest and the Mambo priestess. So what they just said here, they said the Bakar, which is like a member of the priesthood of Mahan, and the Hugan, which is known as a Kahan. Okay, they call them Kahan, which is like a high priest, and a Mambo, a high priestess of the Most High. Okay, is formerly voodoo religion. Swagger Jack, bashing. A zombie remains under the control of the Bakar as a personal slave, having no will of its own. This is exactly what it means. It means a person with no will. They drug that person, they give him that person some type of powerful drug, and then the person's soul is kind of like becoming dumb. So that person respond to very basic comment. He become like a person with no will. That's what it means. But in order to turn somebody into a zombie, you have to give that person a very powerful drug. When that person fall asleep, technically that person have 1 beat per minute. That person's heart beat like 1 time per minute. So that's why when they say the person is dead, when in fact the person is not dead. So the process went into, like, they put the person between life and death. They put that person into another dimension. In the Haitian folklore, in the Haitian legend, it is said that your body has 2 souls. Okay, the big soul and the little soul. The big soul is like the basic soul, the dumbest soul. This is the soul, this is the spirit. Okay, we call it spirit. This is the spirit in your body that telling you to eat, go to the bathroom, go to sleep, walk. That's it. That's the basics of your body. So the little spirit is the evilest one. This is the one that's in your head that make you angry when somebody did something to you. This is the one that make you, that talk to you and say, kill this person, you know, run over this person. This is the one that is the most intelligent. This is the one that telling you, drive the car, take the key, open the house, clean the house, read, listen to this video, comment. This is the little spirit. Now what they do to make you into a zombie, they drug you, they put you into a state of life and death. Your heartbeat is like 1 minute, one beat per minute. Now they take the little spirit, the little soul, they took it out of your soul, they took it out of your body, they put it in the bottle, and they leave you with the big soul, the big spirit. The big spirit is the dumbest spirit, is like the basic spirit. So you become a zombie. You cannot hurt people. Why they do this? Because according to the 10 Commandments, you are not allowed to murder. So if somebody did something that is very wrong in the Haitian community, they took that person. Let's say if that person committed a rape, or that person stole some land and stole a car, so you could not murder that person. In fact, and because you will break the law. Okay, so you have to turn that person into a zombie. So they took the little spirit out of him, and then they make that person into a basic person. He could never ever in his life hurt another person. He could never ever in his life rape another person. He could never ever do something wrong, because he become basic. And in a short term, that person become lobotomized. Okay, lobotomized, lobotomy. I think I went into this. Okay, lobotomy. A lobotomy or leucotomy is a form of psychosurgery, a neurosurgical treatment of a mental disorder that improves severe connection in brain's pretal context. Okay, so they lobotomize you, a surgical operation. So you become lobotomized. So you can't even put your head up. Okay, so instead of putting something in your eye and then crush your skull, they actually give you a powerful drug, make you, and then they lobotomize you. Okay, you become dumb. You become dumbfounded. You can do anything except basic works. Eat, go to sleep, work, performing like mild task. You know, you can't even work. Like the only thing you can do is eat, go to sleep, and then walk around and listen to what people say. So that's what they call a zombie. But Hollywood take it, they messed it up, you know. Okay, so they did all this nonsense with it. They always, oh, this is our culture. Okay, if the very word zombie is Haitian Creole, which I told you the Haitian Creole is like ancient Paleo Hebrew. Okay, this is our culture. They make billions of dollars. The Walking Dead is straight up Haitian culture. It's straight up Israelites culture. They make billions of dollars off of our shit, and then they act like they come up with it. Okay, they act like, oh, this is our story. Okay, The Walking Dead is our story. All right. So once you start knowing, and then the World War Z, all those zombie movies, they swagger jack, you know, your story. See, zombie survival. This is our story. This is they stole those things from our people, and then now they wanna act like, okay, well, we came in with this and stuff. Get the hell out of here, man. Anyway, we got off track for a minute now. Let's see. All right. Oh boy, 20 minutes. I despise when I do this, but some of that's you know, that's like Isaiah said, man. Here a little, there a little. You know, just so you can clarify things. All right. Where were we? Okay. So Enoch, the unspeakable darkness, and transcriber, the first chapter. Okay. Oh, where were we? Is that? Okay, we were in Enoch. Okay, yeah. Enoch, who spoke the incantation to raise the dead. All right. Enoch, who worship Mot and secret. So raise the dead and zombie, it's not the same thing. A zombie is not a dead person. A zombie is a person that you put in a state of the proper word is in a coma, a medically induced coma, and then you traumatize the little soul, and that person become your slave, a person of no will. It's different than raise the dead. That is like a dead body that's been dead. Then you go to the spirit world, you grab a spirit, like an evil spirit, then you fuse it with that body. So that's like raise the dead, you know. So it's two different things. So anyway, Enoch will worship Mot in secret. Enoch, the transcriber of the first chapters of this very book. Enoch, who cut himself and shaved the front of his head. Enoch, who stood between Og and Nimrod and was then cut down by the circumcised. So Enoch died. Enoch, who wounded Nimrod's genitals a second time. So man, those guys were really going after Nimrod ring. The dude orgies, remember the giant orgies, take a swing at it. He cut some of it. Nimrod put some fire on his penis and then, you know, perform a surgery. And then now Enoch, they say that Enoch cut some of that Nimrod's genitals. So what the hell is going on, man? Anyway, Azaph, that's another giant. That's the second giant. So that was Enoch, and now Azaph. Azaph, the temple priest for Baal of the moon. Azaph, with blackening eyes, who rode a great beast into battle. I wonder what beast that was. Azaph, the priest, who was the creator of the driver and chaser. Then there he goes again. These two words continue to bedevil me. What is a driver and chaser? So Azaph was the creator of the driver and the chaser. I don't know what those things are. Man, Enoch was like a weapon maker. Anyway, Azaph, who weaved the bones of smaller cells into his beard. Damn! Azaph, who ate the unnatural creeping things that did not have fins or scales on, and the beast that chewed the cud but did not have cloven foot, the cloven hoof. Brothers and sisters, you already know where this is going. They are Gentiles. They do the complete opposite. They know the law, the Levitical law said, Moses said you should not eat anything that the pig, that anything that's not cloven footed, and you can only eat fish that have scale and fin. Okay, now they told you right here that Azaph, who ate the unnatural creeping things that did not have fins and scales. So Enoch was eating catfish. Enoch was eating shrimp. Enoch was eating shark, squid, octopuses, because they go against the Levitical law. They eat the unpure, unnatural. See, it says here, Azaph, who ate the unnatural creeping things that did not have fish, fins, or scales, and the beast that chewed the cud but did not have cloven hooves. Okay, Azaph, those dark ones, move objects around him. Azaph, whose portion and spear protect the Rephaim of the field of battle. Asaph's army was 1,000 giants. So Asaph has 1,000 giants with him. Please read the Levitical law in the book of Leviticus. Malcolm, like it sounds like Malcolm. Malcolm, the cannibal, who had eaten the dead who were tied to trees where the dark ones gathered. Okay, so Malcolm was a cannibal. Malcolm, the treasurer in the house of Baal of the moon. Abominable Malcolm, who showed partiality and took the bribes that blind the eyes of the wise and twist the words of the honorable. Malcolm, who at times was possessed by dark ones and threw him into the water of the fire, trying to kill him. Malcolm, who sang praise to Baal of the moon as he was surrounded by circumcised Nephilim, and one through Malcolm's army was 1,000 giants. So that was Malcolm. There is another Ag. That's not Og, that's Ag. Okay, we call it Ag to confuse it with Og. So Ag, who was Og's brother, okay, and who died in the first moment of the battle. Ag, who had no connection or any interest and connection to any spiritual things whatsoever. Ag will follow not the custom of Og's land. Ag will spare his firstborn from Baal's fire. Ag will swung nets for fish and swung nets on the field of battle. Ag was stunned by stone and then pierced by spears and hacked with axes until he died. Ag's army was 5,000 giants. So Ag was Og's brother, but he wasn't into that all messed up thing. He didn't want to sacrifice his firstborn to Baal, and he got killed. So notice here that they said Ag was stunned by stone and then pierced by spears and hacked with axes. Okay, so a driver and tracer is not a spears or axes. So I can't find out what that thing is. This thing is really difficult. All right, next page. All right. Let's zoom in. There we go. Tarshan. That's another giant. Tarshan. Tarshan, who hunted in the great waters and tamed the Leviathan. Again, Leviathan mean like giant monsters, giant sea monsters. All right. Tarshan, blood servant and warden of the blood pits of Baal of the earth. Tarshan, who killed the circumcised Nephilim of the field of battle by crushing skulls with hammers. Tarshan, who plundered Nimrod's stores and took all his smaller self and livestock. Tarshan, whose face had been scarred by mighty beasts. Okay, Tarshan, who used the dark ones to read the minds and heart of others. Tarshan army was 500,000, so they had Tarshan had some form of telepathy. Gileon the Heavy, they mentioned that guy before. Gileon the Heavy, whose fourth and final battle was the 100,000 giant war. Each war Gileon fought had torn his face so severely that he had 3 different faces. Damn. Gileon, who was opposed by his dark one and had been rendered mute, so Gileon could not talk. Gileon, who served Mott in the open. Gileon, who was stubborn, rebellious, a glutton, and a drunkard. Damn, that guy was mute. He was stubborn. He was a glutton, and then he always got drunk. Gileon, who continued to swing the driver and chaser, there goes again, mightily after his head had been severed in battle. Gileon army was 500,000. So they cut in the battle, they cut off Gileon heads, but after they cut his head off, he was still fighting. He was still swinging the driver and the chaser. Got these 2 weapons right here, man. Athos the climber, who climbed the mountains until the air turned out cold as he searched for new lands. Okay, again, whatever. So let's move it. Athos, soothsayer for Baal of the stars and celestial bodies. Athos, who had foretold the circumcision of Nimrod in the 100,000 giant war. Athos, who was strong and good courage, for Baal of the stars and celestial bodies, and was the one who Baal of the stars and celestial body possessed and never forsook. Athos, whose face changed when the dark ones were upon him. Athos, who made armor out of the bones of the Nephilim and great beasts of old. Athos, who had the eyes of certain death. Athos' army was 500 giants. Uval, I think I know this dude. Yes. Uval was the giant that was the friend of Lamech of Cain. All right. Uval the Gray was father of Ogs. This is wife Leshta. So you know what? Let's go get it. Let me post this. Let's go get Uval. So we don't want to pull thing out of our butt right here. All right, I found it. Okay, let me see if that thing record. Yes. Uval, that's chapter, I don't know which chapter that is. That is the book of Lamech of Cain. All right. Uval, the Rephaim, and the Leviathan. Okay, and Lamech met Uval the giant while walking the desolation of the land. Uvals were way tender, gentle and delicate, and with Lamech, Uval the giant was both kind and humble. Uval's peaceful ways were different. Other giants of the land. So Uval was a different giant. He was a lot more peaceful, and he had knowledge. Okay. So Uval and Lamech soon become bounded together in close friendship. Uval the giant loved Lamech as much as he did his own life. So remember in this book, Uval and Lamech, so they went in and tried to worship the Mosai, but the Mosai ignored them, and then they formed their own religion. All right, this is good to know. You can see the connection between this book, the Bible, and that book right here we're reading, the book of Acts. So Uval the Gray, so Uval's skin was gray. That's why they say all the color came together, the black, the gray, white, green, red. So Uval the Gray, fathers of Og, this is wife Leshta. So Uval has a daughter. The last woman that ever lived was Uval's daughter. Well, as the second, the last was his granddaughter. So it's good to make this connection. So Uval the Gray, father of Og's deceased wife Leshta. Uval was the commander of elephants, okay, probably mammoth, okay, and great scale beasts, okay, so big beasts. So right here he told you, and this is the connection. Uval the giant, because of okay, Lamech learns to command Leviathan. And Uval took Lamech to the edge of the sea, and they saw Leviathan coming out of the sea, having 10 horns upon its head. And Leviathan was broad on both sides, and great. Lamech and Uval the giants were small in the midst, and looked up to Leviathan. Great flow of waters arose like a storm. Leviathan was large as a mountain, damn, and covered with earth plants, trees, and Lamech and Uval the giant stood in awe of him and his female. For the movement of Leviathan was a big disturbance, and all who were about knew of his coming. And Leviathan was a large sea creature that was also seen on land. And Uval provide Leviathan with ample, which means food, enough food, saying, Leviathan, you will have life for many years to come. Take your ease and eat, drink, and enjoy yourself. So Uval, he could control Leviathan. Uval then taught Lamech the ways of the Leviathan, and gave Lamech command over them, both male and female, which double check right here. So Uval, you know, was the commander of elephants. So Uval was like a dude that can command elephants, and Leviathan, he can communicate with animals. So we confirmed that with the book of Lamech of Cain, and then the book of Og. So and great scale beasts. So a great scale beast is like giant dinosaur, giant dragon, Leviathan and stuff. Okay, Uval, who had fallen from the skies like lightning at the beginning, Uval will converse with the bright ones. Okay, Uval was the only guys who can. Okay, I believe what they say here. The bright ones is when Uval and Lamech went in and tried to communicate, went to Jared in the book of Lamech of Cain. You know, Jared was the only dudes that wanted to receive them. Everybody was like, yo, y'all niggas need to get out of here before we kill y'all. But Jared told them, he said, yo, y'all can't worship our Father, but anyway, I am here to be a light into both world, Jews and Gentiles, and he taught them. Okay, so Uval will converse with the bright ones. Okay, the bright ones, or the line of Seth. Okay, the connection to YAHAWAH highest. Okay, Uval was heart broke when the moonchild was lost. That was his granddaughter. Uval will sacrifice the gods we did not know. Okay, the God they did not know. It's like Uval was making sacrifice to YAHAWAH, because they Lamech, Jared show Lamech of Cain and Uval how to sacrifice to Father, so the sin will go away. Okay, all right. While under the control of the dark ones, Uval army was, okay, let's go to the next page. All right, let's zoom in. It is good to read and make the connection. All right. 500,000, is that the one? I think it's okay, whatever number I say, but add 1,000 behind that. Okay, Akut, the Rephaim, will sharpen his fingernails. Akut will connect it to a floating beast for battle. Again, a floating beast for battle. It could not be floating in the water. They weren't battling in the water. Okay, a floating beast. See there, they don't say flying beast. They would have said a flying bird. So it is a beast that float, that fly. Again, it could be a dragon. It could be something else. Okay, Akut will, when connected, become as a lion. Akut was floating beast, tall at the groins of the circumcised Nephilim. Akut will work the skin and faces of the many Nephilim he'd killed. Damn. Akut, servant of Baal of the stars and celestial bodies. Akut, whose hours were drunk with blood and whose sword longed to devour flesh. Akut, whose braided beard grew past his knee. Akut army was 500 giant. So Akut has a very long beard. He was a skilled archer, and then he had a quote unquote a dragon, and then he sharpened his fingernail so he could like tear up people's flesh. Noph the black. Okay, that's another color. They got the gray, we got the black now. Noph the black, Rephaim from the Heartland, Hamites, the Heartland over there. Okay, so they were all over. Okay, the Heartland could be the Middle East too, because of the freaking Heartland. Okay, Heartland. Okay, let's put the, oh boy, yo, here we go. Okay, so he was probably from somewhere around here, or like, you know, bottom or in South America, because the war took place in the fourth part. Okay, so North could be somewhere in Nevada. It could come from the Nevada or somewhere, a Heartland. This is just an example, which showed you, you know, there were different giants from different places. Okay, North, who like Uva, converse. Okay, North Ephraim, the lands of elsewhere. Okay, North, who like Uva, okay, converse with the bright ones. Okay, North will sacrifice to gods we did not know. Okay, probably North was one of those guys that followed Uva when they were trying to worship the Jared and the Mosai and all that. North, who also spoke the incantation to raise the dead. North, who had opened his soul to the dark ones completely and whose eyes were darkening because of it. North, who heaped disaster upon the circumcised Nephilim and dashed their skulls upon the stones in the field. North, who had the eyes of certain death. North's army was 1,000 giant. Alright, next guy. Yugtoph. Okay, Yugtoph the black. Another black. Rephaim from the heartlands of elsewhere. Yugtoph was, okay, it seems like all the black one that from the heartland have like North, Toph, Yugtoph. Their names end up in off, like Toph, the Egyptian god. They could be Hamites. So anyway, we all know Toph is old man Enoch. All right. They swagger jack him. All right. Yuktoth from the Heartlands of elsewhere, Yuktoth, who was driven by the Dark One and visibly rested upon his shoulder. They could see that little demon on his shoulders. So the Most High sent demons upon those guys to destroy each other. Yuktoth, who could call down fire from heaven from Baal of the sun. Yuktoth, who took off his sandals to question Baal of the sun and was not struck dead. Yuktoth, whose hair was thick and look as whoop do. He has dread. Okay. Yuktoth, who killed the 50 circumcised Nephilim with the skull of a great beast. Before he died, Yuktoth, who had the eyes of a certain death, Yuktoth army was 1,000. So when they say Yuktoth killed 50 circumcised Nephilim with the skull of a beast, they swagger jack Samson. When Samson took the jaw of an ass and killed like 1,000 Philistines, something like that. Go look at it. But again, those guys are the one that wrote their own story, so they're going to embellish themselves. So Algu the foot breaker, whose white hair shone under Baal at the sun. So Algu, that guy liked to break people's foot, and he had white hair. Algu, who fought mightily with the driver and chaser. Okay, now I'm starting to believe like a driver and chaser is a weapon only made for giants, and crippled many. So this guy's specialty was breaking people's foot. Can you imagine this guy going on war and then breaking people's foot? This is crazy. All right. Algu, who had to be chained to a stone pillar, went under the power of the Dark Ones because of his terrible strength. Okay, Algu, who prophesied Og's victory in the 100-time giant war. Algu, who left nothing undone of all that. Let's go to the next page. Of all that. Of all that the Dark Ones commanding of him, Algu's army was 500 giants. Vertis, whose arms swung violently and who wrapped his face in a chain. Man, so Vertis like wrap his hand in a chain like a boxer. Okay, like when you wrap your hand, you're going to box with when you wrap your hand with cloth to put your hand inside a boxing glove, but instead of the clothing piece, instead of a cloth, he used a chain. Vertis will fasten and pray before Baal of the moon with Og during the death watch of the moonchild. Vertis, with dark ones, will enter his enemy, and they return to tell him that the enemy was planning. Vertis would eaten 200 smaller cells in one sitting. That's the dude that I was talking about. This dude is so savage. He eat 200 human, 200 people in one drop, in one stop. Give me a second. All right, I was interrupted. It's 2:23. I forgot where I was. Let's see where I was. Shutting there, 500. Oh boy. I think I was in Vertis. Okay, Vertis will fasten and pray before Baal of the moon with Og during the death watch of the moonchild. Vertis, whose dark ones will enter his enemy and then return to tell him what the enemy was planning. Vertis would eaten, yes, 200 smaller cells in one sitting. Vertis ate 200 human in one set, in one, oh man, in one meal. Yo, can you imagine eating 200? You, as a regular human, you can't even eat 200 chicken. Some of you can barely eat a whole chicken by himself. Can you imagine eating 200 burger in just like one meal? Some of you can't even eat 10. This dude eat 200 people in one sitting. Whatever, man. Vertis, who took violent means to follow Baal of the moon brutally, walking in his all's way. Vertis, who had the eyes of a certain death. Vertis' army was 500 giants. Briareos, the strong giant, whose work in the field and harvest, Briareus, worshipper of Baal of the earth and recipient of Baal blessing. Briareus, who commanded many dark ones to enter the circumcised Nephilim army and confuse their ways. Briareus, who dug a tunnel under Nimrod's kingdom. Briareus, who built an incredible altar to Baal of the earth that was a witness between him and the dark ones, so that none in King and Ark's kingdom could say, "We have no part in Baal of the earth." Briareus' army was 3,000. Oh man, those kids are wearing me out. Kotos the Black, Rephaim from the heartland of elsewhere. Kotos, whose strikes pulverized boulders and who pounded his face inside of through his enemies. So Kotos was like a boxer. He can punch boulders, and then when he punched a boulder, it exploded. Okay, and then he would punch people with his face, and then his hand would run right through the person, like Cain fatality. Okay, Kotos, worshipper of gods we did not know. Kotos, who had torn 20 circumcised Nephilim apart with his bare hands. So that guy Kotos was like, damn. Kotos, a violent giant whose fury none could reason with. Kotos, who put a trumpet in his hand for every giant in his army. Kotos, who said, "When I blow the beast's horn, then you blow the trumpets on every side of the camp, then scream, the battle belongs to Og." In doing so, the Nephilim were confused by the horn blast and yelling, and the Nephilim greatly feared Kotos and his army. Kotos, who had the eyes of certain death, Kotos' army was 2,000 giants. Gyges, that's the next giant. Gyges of curved limbs. So Gyges was a deformed giant. Gyges, who had been buried from the neck down to strengthen his curved limb at childhood. So Gyges was handicapped, and they were trying to fix his limb by burying him or something. All right, man, those giants are fascinating. Gyges, builder of the high places and secret worshipper of Mot. Gyges, who live with the lepers. Gyges, we assume he was white. Gyges, who was protected by the dark one, circled him in the black flames. Gyges, who conjured and sent a powerful dark one of ill will into the Nephilim camp. Gyges, who had the eyes of certain death. Gyges, who was captured and straightened till he died by the circumcised Nephilim. Gyges' army was 2,000. So Gyges was like a malform, a handicap like giant. So they captured him and then they straightened him until he died, because he wasn't born straightened. Talo, the simple giant. Talo was stupid. Talo, the simple giant. Talo, who had his head wounded as a child, so he had an injury in his head. Talo, whose forehead was as a wall. Woo! Talo, whose forehead was as a wall, but whose skull was sunken. Talo, who opened himself completely to the Dark One and was rarely in control of himself. Talo, who spoke to all with the mind and voice of a Dark One and served Baal of the earth. Talo, who allowed no razor come to his head or face. Talo was 425 giants. So this Talo dude, the simple, he was stupid because something dropped on his head when he was a kid, and he was possessed by like dark spirits. Okay, Raka, the empty head. I'm not quite sure what that means. That probably means another stupid giant. Raka, whose dark ones completely control him. Raka, who was unpredictable with axe, driver and chaser, and stones. Raka, who was killed in the field of battle by Nimrod's guard. Raka, whose eyes whitened as the eyes of the blind and spoke with the voice of a dark one. Raka, whose dark ones changed his form, so he became a different giant. Raka, who has the eyes of certain deaths, Raka army was 425 giants. So Raka was like a shapeshifter. Amok who commanded the dark ones. Amok who could say go and wound that giant, and then the dark ones will go and wound him. Amok who commanded the dark ones from the high places as Og stretched his arms over the field of battle. Amok who said, Baal of the earth has great delight in burnt offering and sacrifices. Behold, to open yourself to the dark ones is greater than sacrifice. Take this swagger jack in the Bible, man. Whatever. Okay, let's see how long we are into this. Oh, good Lord. All right. To be connected to the dark one is better than the fat of lambs, for your witchcraft, iniquity, and idolatry please your God Baal of the earth. Then again, they'll swagger jack in the Bible and flip it on the side. Okay, so they do the complete opposite. So for your witchcraft and iniquity of idolatry pleases your God Baal of the earth. That's why, brothers and sisters, they are pushing all this nonsense towards us. Go to church. Be free to have any religion you want. You're a man, you love that other man, as long as you pray over this man, but you can bang him. You're a man, you're a person, you like to eat pork, as long as you pray over it. Do witchcraft, idolatry, it pleases Baal. Okay, it angered our father YAHAWAH, but it pleased their God, so that's why they were living like this. Amok's army was 1,000 giant. Virak the perfect, whose visage was beautiful and who received favor through the kingdom because of his pleasant appearance. Virak, servant of Baal of the sun. Virak, who raided Nimrod castle and washed on the spoil and took sheep, oxen, and cattle and slaughtered them on the ground, and with his army ate them and the stars, blood, bones, and all. Damn! That means when Virak take those sheep or oxen, can you imagine taking a cow and kill that cow and eat it like with everything, with all the poop inside of the intestine and the entrail? Oh boy. Virak, who could call rocks and boulders to fall from the sky from Baal of the sun. Virak was flowing flaxen air become the easy target of the Nephilim, as he was severed in half after many wounds by a greater circumstance Nephilim. So Virak hair was like flaxen. What is that word? I'm not quite sure what they mean by flaxen. I got a flaxen hair. Okay, let's look at flaxen hair. We might. Okay, his hair was like all shaggy like or smooth. Okay, all right, let's see the definition. La fille aux cheveux de lin. Okay, flaxen, especially of hair of the pale yellow color or dress flax. Okay, I believe this giant hair was yellow, and then which made him a target. All right. Virak was flowing flaxen hair become the easy target of the Nephilim, and he was severed in half. So they cut him in half after many wounds by a greater Nephilim. One of those bigger giant cut him in half. Virak, who had the eyes of certain death. Virak's army was 500. Next giant, Idigon the possessed. Idigon, whose dark ones would seize him and change his shape, so he was a shapeshifter. Idigon, who spoke unintelligibly because of the dark ones in him. Idigon, whose 7 braids had never been trimmed or cut, so he had long dreads. Idigon, servant of Mot. Idigon, who, when the battle became intense and he was severely wounded by the archers, asked his army to run him through with his sword, screaming, "Lest these circumcised giants come to torture and abuse me." Idigon's army was 2,000. So before this dude died, he was wounded to death. So he asked his army to kill him because he didn't want to get killed by those circumcised dudes. Which remind me of King Saul. Marry him, who had an extra long growing from an extra long arm going from his chest. So Merlin has like 3 arms. Okay, a giant with 3 arms, which Merihim, who had an extra arm going from his chest that was useless. Merihim, who practiced the Dark One witchcraft of Baal of the earth that could change the species of any living beast. Merihim, who foretold the coming of the great waters. Merihim, of whom the Dark One moved around and through so much that his appearance was within the plague of locusts. Damn! Merihim, who cuts his hair at the end of every 5 years because he was heavy. It was too heavy for him. Okay. All right. Let's move to the next verse. All right. There are so many giants. 500,000 giant. 100,000 giant. Okay, whose hair burdened upon him. So Merihim's hair was way too heavy. After 5 years, he always cut them because his hair become way too heavy. And then he looked like a locust. And then he looked like a swarm of locusts. Man, that guy was terrifying. Merihim, who had the eyes of certain death. Merihim's army was 2,000 giant. Obscus. Obscus, whose skin and limbs were white as snow because he was a leper. Again, that's confirmed that the other dude was hanging out with a bunch of white people, with a bunch of white giants. Okay. Obscus, whose hair had turned white, and his saw and the saw were deeper in the skin of him. Obscus, who worshipped Mount in secret. Obscus, who with his fellow lepers beat the drum at the times of infant sacrifice to Baal of the earth. Obscus, who live among the lepers near the trees where they dead are tied and the dark ones gather. Obscus, who had the eyes of a certain death. Obscus' army was 1,000 leprous and diseased giants. Okay. Skibal. Skibal, the uninformed and stupid. Skibal, who lies of the dark ones and the bright ones. Skibal, who spent inordinate amount of time grooming his beard. Man, Skibal like that beard. Skibal was beaten almost to death in the flatlands by his own Rephaim army. Skibal, who was spared from betrayal and death at the hands of his army by Enoch, the keeper of the bodies before Baal. Skibal, the uninformed and stupid, who died delicately after one slap across face from a circumcised Nephilim. Skibal, the confused, who lied with all his breath, for there were many that hated him, and they hated him with cruel hatred. Skibal, whose corpse was circumcised on the field of battle by the Nephilim. Skibal army want to kill him, was 50 giants. So that guy Skibal was a scumbag. This guy probably was the biggest scumbags of the giants. So they even hate him. He only have like 50 dudes. His own army want to kill him, and that guy died with a slap in the face. I mean, a giant slap you can break your neck. Alright? Skibal was a scumbag. Oyaks, who had stared at the sun for revelation from Baal until he was blinded. Oyas, with long black hair, who Baal of the sun spoke directly to. Blind Oyas, who was carried into battle and commanded his army for his chase. Oyas, who did call down fire from Baal of the sun upon the circumcised Nephilim of the field of battle. Oyas, who called upon Baal of the sun as his rock fortress and delivered. Oyas, who spoke of Baal of the sun as his horn stronghold and refuge, who trains him to deliver violence. Oyas, who worship both Baal of the sun and Baal of the moon, and opened himself to conflict dark ones. Oyas, who had the eyes of certain death. Oyas' army was 500 giant. Man, Skibal. I want to create a character and call it Skibal. Alright then. Oops. Alright, next page. Oya, the black Rephaim, from the heartland of elsewhere. Oya, the bread maker and worshipper of gods we did not know. Oya, whose dark ones could transport his spirit into another living creatures. Oya was attacked the Nephilim on the field of battle with his transportation. Oya was raided the circumcised Nephilim temple and ate the fat of the sacrifice and drank the blood of the drinking offering. Oya was as dangerous and ferocious as he was strong. Oya the fast, who had no use of weapon on the field of battle, and he used his hand to twist, thwart, and break the circumcised Nephilim. Oya, whose vengeance on the Nephilim was as grapes of gall on bitter clusters served with wine that was cruel poison. Oya, who had the eyes of certain death, Oya army was 500. So this dude Oya was a problem. This dude was strong. He could take his spirits and put it into one of those beasts like a giant wolf, and then kill a bunch of body and then return his spirit back to his body. Damn, that's now you start seeing where those guys get the movies. Now you start to understand they were reading books that we didn't have, and they always act like they came up with it. Okay, so Cain's the hairy blood drinker. Cain's who wounded his enemy and saved their blood in clay pots. Cain's worshipper of Baal of the earth. Cain's who swung a dead circumcised Nephilim as a club at the field of battle. So Cain was like pretty strong. He took one of the other giant and then swing him like he was swinging a baseball bat. Okay, Cain's who was told of his early death by the smaller cell sorceress. Cain's would then turn his forehead to the stone and sacrifice 300 smaller cells to Baal of the earth, and was granted 100 more years of life. So now Cain was going to die, so the priestess told him, so he sacrificed 300 people to Baal, and they give him 100 years to live. So that means, like, if those guys can live hundreds of years, remember Og survived the deluge, the flood. So they are still somewhere, probably in Antarctica, somewhere they're hiding, okay, because they could live hundreds of years. Okay, Cain's will say to the Nephilim, why are you circumcised, giants fearful, O you of little faith, and Baal of the earth? Yeah, kind of like YAHAWAH say to Thomas or whatever. Okay, Cain's who then arose and rebuked the circumcised Nephilim, and then the ground opened and swallowed many, and he kept his calm. Cain's was the eyes of certain deaths. Cain's army was 500. Enceladus the wealthy, strong potion maker, and servant of Baal of the moon. Enceladus whose dark ones of rage overtook him when he was drunk. Enceladus whose potion could chain a dark one in servitude to a Rephaim, like a zombie. Okay, Enceladus whose potion caused the drinker to see the future tomorrow. Enceladus whose potion saved the Rephaim that ate the sour meat of the circumcised Nephilim as cooked by Stolas. Enceladus who, when not drinking wine, ate sacrificial meat and hated with wise and understanding heart bitterly for no reason at all. Enceladus was the heaviest Rephaim of the field of battle. Enceladus would drink potion, and Enceladus was heavy, so probably was like one of those fat dude, one of those giant fat giants. So Enceladus who provides the great waters. Enceladus who was a drunkard and a glutton, came the riches, and his drowsiness clothed him with gold. Enceladus' army was 2,000. So that guy was drunk. He had a lot of money. He didn't give a crap. Typhorus boiler of meat and bread. Typhorus who with Stolas fed the armies of King Og. So they were the caterers. Typhorus would shave his head after breaking a vow to Baal of the moon. Typhorus, of which none of his all Og's kingdom practices wickedness like him. Typhorus will never abstain from meat offering to Baal of the earth, moon or sun. Typhorus would drink the blood and essence of things, strangle and from things of spiritual connection which you keep with yourselves. Typhorus who ate the sacrificial bread when he ate the dainty sacrificial meat served to him with the evil eye. Typhorus will say, meat for the belly and the belly for the meat, but I shall destroy both in them. Damn. All right. This quote sounds familiar, but anyway. Typhorus with the guys that say, meats for the belly and the belly for the meats, but I shall destroy both in them. Typhorus, whose wickedness caused the dark one to attach to him, so that he allows smoldering in the embers of a fire. Typhorus, who had the eyes of a certain death. Typhorus' army was 500. Next giant. Stolas, the stew maker, who spoke with the bright ones. Stola, whose eyes were blackened by all that was vulgar in the world. Stolas, who with Typhorus fed the army of King Og. Stolas, who went on the field of battle, gave himself over to the dark ones. Stolas, who fed upon the dead Nephilim and cooked their sour body for Og's army. So those guys were like killing each other, cooking each other, and eating each other. Stolas, who would only sacrifice an uncircumcised male, smaller self without blemish to Baal on the earth. So that's the only dude that only take a good kid, a healthy child, and then sacrifice it. He will not touch anything that is not healthy to Baal, the earth. Stolas, who could call large fecal worms up from the ground to enter and consume his enemies from Baal of the earth. Stolas, who had eaten the food served by the bright ones, having eaten their strange meat as guests, till his hand pushed a plate away. Stolas' army was 2,000 giants. Marduk, well, it sounds like Marduk, but Marduk of the shadows. Marduk, who stay away from his fellow Rephaim and live in caves. Okay, so there are giants that stay away, they live in caves. All right, there are so many caves out there. Some of them are unexplored. You don't know what's going on in there. All right, let's see how much we are. Oh my God, this is gonna take at least 2 hours. Marduk, who stay away from his fellow Rephaim and live in caves. Marduk, who heard the distant curse's voice and obeyed their commands. Marduk, who was surrounded in a cloud of dark ones and covered him in the haze of Baal of the earth and filled with the cave. Marduk, whose, next page, let's put that out. Okay. All right. Marduk, whose prophesies were shunned because they were never good but always of darkness. Marduk, who covered himself in mud and his hair was heavy with soil. Marduk, whose dark ones put a filth upon all that they touched and made them vile and set them as a gazing stock. Marduk, who had the eyes of a certain death. Marduk army was 500 giant. Epos tormented, inheritor of Baal's kingdom. Epos, whose golden flesh was pronounced with great musculature. Epos, whose beauty could summon the loins of giants who weren't homosexual. So Epos was like the handsome man. He was a homosexual. We're gonna read that. Epos he was like a transgender giant. He looked like a woman. Okay. Epos was so muscular, he was so well. Epos looked so good when his beauty could summon the loins of giants who weren't homosexual. So when Epos passed, the guys that not homosexual, they could get an erection by just looking at Epos because he looks like a woman. He was like a transvestite type of a giant. All right. Epos was even those guys weren't gay, they would get an erection by just looking at him because they thought he was a woman. Okay. Epos, whose dark one would lift him and place him where he requests. Epos, whose flesh has touched any and all unclean things to inherit the kingdom of Baal, the opposite of what we do. Epos, who conjure a lying dog to confuse the ranks of the Nephilim. Epos, who did fornicate and was a lover of males. Okay, let's read that again. Epos, who did fornicate and was a lover of males. So this dude was a transvestite, a transgender homosexual giant. So nothing new under the sun here. All right. Okay, so he looked like a woman, because even the homosexuals, even the guy that went gay, the straight giants, when they saw him, they quickly got an erection because they thought he was a woman. Remember, those guys barely see women. Okay, they only had one woman alive in that time, and that woman belonged to the king. What the hell you gonna do? There's like millions of us in 1 million. So the next guy that looked like a female, they go for that guy. Okay. Epos. Let's see where we were. Nephilim. Epos, who did indeed fornicate and was a lover of males. Epos, was surrounding himself with male giants who love him. Epos, whose behavior reminded the Rephaim of the unspoken mistake, so that he was disliked for it. Okay, they despised the Epos because of the unspoken mistake, because they understand like two men cannot cannot reproduce. So that's why the unspoken mistake was its extension. They could not reproduce, so they hated Epos, because Epos was like having sex with other dudes. So every time he did this, it would remind them like, yo, this is the unspoken mistake. That's why we should reject when they put this garbage upon our people. All right. Epos, who was a fornicator, a mad idolater, effeminate, a thief, a covetous, a drunkard, a reviler, a swindler, and was prophesied to inherit the kingdom of Baal. Epos, who alone had the respect of King Og. Epos, who had the eyes of certain death. Epos' army was 500. So Epos was an effeminate thief. He was like, Epos, this is all good for them. The worse you are, the better Baal going to love you. So let's leave that guy Epos alone. Okay, Balor with black hair and one good eye. Okay, we see what they did right here. Balor with black hair and one good eye. That means he got an eye that is bad. They didn't call him Balor the one eye, so he wasn't a Cyclops. Remember, they referred to one in the beginning as a Cyclops because they call him the one-eye dude, but he only had one eye because he was a Cyclops. But this dude right here, Balor with black hair and one good eye. Balor was single-eyed, perceived the weakness of his enemy. That's like Kakashi from Naruto. Okay, so in battle, Balor was unstoppable. Balor whose good eye was a blessing of Baal of the moon. Balor who only spoke in dark sayings. Balor, whose incantation to Baal of the earth could move a mountain to the sea. Balor, who also said, if I am indeed a servant of Baal of the sun, then let fire come down on the high and consume the Nephilim. And fire did come down and consume 50 Nephilim. Balor, who prophesied of the coming great waters. Balor, whose single eye had no pity upon the Nephilim. For Nimrod's kingdom was Og's, Balor's army was 2,000. Enrys, the hairy priest of Mat. Enrys, who did not worship Mat in secret. Enrys, who walked with Mat as a companion and visit his kingdom. Enrys, who dark one was such as he. Let's go back, next page. Who was a whirlwind looks and as a whirlwind turns. Enrys, who swore thoughtlessly with his lips to only do evil. Enrys, whose mouth told the great waters. Enrys, whose method of destruction on the field of battle brought fear to the uncircumcised. Enrys, who had the eyes of a certain death. Enrys, whose comprehension of the dark one was complete. Enrys' army was 2,000. Next giant, Botis, the father of Balor. Botis, whose wisdom was afforded by Baal of the moon. Botis, who spoke of the nature of things and saw all unseen truth. Botis, whose heavy beard rested over his shoulders. Botis, who created a strange fire that left up towards Baal of the sun regularly. Botis, who pronounced a curse upon the circumcised Nephilim in the name of Baal of the earth, and 42 untamable female bears, and entered the field and battle and mauled the Nephilim till they die. Botis, who was beheaded and cannibalized at the field of battle. But his army was 5,000 giants. Okay, so this dude was, boy, like all the giant. Fascinating. Yatat, keeper of the smaller selves. Yatat, whose charge was to determine the smaller selves to be slaughtered by Onzal. Yatat, a dark eyes and dark air. Yatat will lift his eyes to the heaven and saw the sun, moon, and the stars and all the hosts of heaven, and he worshipped and served Baal and all those things. Yatat, who was close to his brother Enoch. Oh, Yatat was Enoch brother? Okay. Yatat, who taught the Rephaim how to make war with the driver and chaser, and how to bend a bow of bronze. Yatat, who had the eyes of a certain death. Yatat, who growled as he killed. Yatat army was 2,000 giants. Movek hated his fellow giants like a sickness. Okay? Movek, who prophesied of the unspoken mistake. So those guys, they knew they were going to be extinct. Movek, who hated the giants because they should have confirmed the prophecy that would end their species. Again, the unspoken mistake. Biglevipriest, whatever, man. Movek, who knew the giants' time was short. Movek, who prophesied the coming of the great waters. Movek, who was consumed by jealous dark one that caused him to scar himself continually. Movek, whose worship mat and open places, I guess, and was a brother of Botis. Movek, who summoned, what did Movek summon? Next page. Movek, who summoned unspeakable beast of Mat upon the field of battle that killed many circumcised and uncircumcised alike. So their beast would attack his dude and the other dudes. Alright. Movek, who attacked the Nephilim mightily until his hand was weary and would not loosen the sword. Movek would die as a hero of old in the field of battle. Movek army was 500 giants. Jotun from the cold lands of elsewhere. Jotun, whose flowing yellow hair and piercing eyes brought fear to all who looked upon him. Jotun, who wore the pelts and unknown beasts. Jotun, who sacrificed daily to Baal of the sun. Jotun, who was able to arouse the anger of Baal of the sun and call down large storm of fires against his enemy. Jotun, who drank a portion of Enceladus and lost himself to the dark one for 8 seasons, probably 8 years or 8 months. 8 seasons. Jotun, well, they didn't say years, but you know, they did say Leshta was bedridden after giving birth for 10 years, but for somehow they say 8 seasons. I'm not quite sure what that means. Jotun, who helped to tear down Nimrod's high places of Baal worship. Jotun, who killed Nimrod's son, whose name will not be mentioned, to blot out them from the earth. Jotun army was 500 giants. So Nimrod's son is mentioned in the Bible in Genesis, all right? So they didn't blot out of his name, so they fell right there. Guntua from the cold lands of elsewhere. Guntua, who wrestled mightily with the great beasts in the blood pits of Baal of the earth. Guntua, who called down fire from Baal of the sun and did not receive it. Guntua, who worshipped Baal in a wrong fashion and was promised every abomination before death. Guntua, while strong of flesh, was weak of spirits and mind. Guntua, of whom the dark ones avoided. Guntua was cut, his eyes gouged, chained to a stone, and lashed, abused by the Nephilim until he was dead. Guntua army was 500. Man, that guy was very unfortunate, man. Which shows you the giants weren't that smart at all. Nebos, the black giant, who the hot lands of elsewhere. Nebos, who escaped capture from Nimrod's army. Nebos who preferred a sword to an axe. Nimbus will collect 3,000 remove Rephaim heads from the field and burn them in the high places to gods we did not know. According to the ritual of the nation from which he came from, Nimbus, whose dark ones stood beside him as trees walking. Nimbus was shaped the saw of the great land with stones and sand. Nimbus, whose foreign gods told of the giant water, told of the great waters to come. Nimbus' army was 1,000 giants. Next page. Saho the black, long-haired giant from the heartland of elsewhere. Saho, brother of Nimbus. Saho, possessed by a powerful dark one, who would change his form into an abomination for days upon hand. Saul, whose madness was corrupt of the field of battle. Saul, whose warfare made no discernible sense. Saul, whose heavy dark hair was magnificent to all who saw it. Saul, who held fast to gods we did not know and would not depart from them. Saul, who dragged the dead bodies to stallers for food. Saul, who had the eyes of a certain death. Saul would die at the end of weapon of the circumcised. Saul's army was 1,000 giants. Isdubar of golden skin and black eyes. So there's another color. Okay, Isdubar would sacrifice all of his offspring to Baal of the sun before the unspoken mistake. Yeah, that's explained why you guys going to stay. You barely have a female. If you have a little girl born, you sacrifice it to Baal. Yeah, right. Which shows you this giant was as dumb as a bag of water. Isdubar, who practiced all the soothsaying witchcraft and openness the dark one say he could muster. Isdubar, who created potions with enceladus that caused the giants to see the future tomorrow. Isdubar, of whom there had been no giant like him before, and who worshiped Baal of the sun with all his soul and with all his might, according to the laws of the kingdom. Isdubar, who foretold the great waters to come. Isdubar, who had the eyes of a certain death. Isdubar army was 500 giants. Next giant. Danava of golden skin and black eyes. Danava, whose dark ones protect him from arrows and spears. Danava, whose madness causing him to run headlong into battle. Danava, who attacked the circumcised Nephilim with fingers and teeth. Danava, who consult a medium of mouth for guidance. Danava, whose staff was infused by the power of Baal of the sun, so that all who touch it were healed from various wounds. The swagger jack Moses right here. Danava, who walked with Baal of the sun as no other giants before or after Danava army was 500 giants. Kresil of the warmer lands of elsewhere. Kresil of golden skin and hair. Kresil, whose army the dark one made invisible. Kresil, servant of Baal of the moon. Kresil, whose dark one confused the circumcised Nephilim, so that they said, what did they say? Let's see what they said. So they say, I hear him, but I see no one. These guys have some type of invisibility power. Kresil, whose army relentlessly killed and tormented the most Nephilim in the 100,000 giant war. Kresil, who practiced the darkest sorcery of Baal of the moon within the great land. Kresil, who had prophesied the great waters. Kresil army was 2,000 giants. It seems those giants, like, this is worse than the other. That other is worse than that. That guy is like the worst of the worst. Damn. Alright, Tiamat, the lands along the waters. Tiamat, whose body was covered with scars from struggle with water creatures. Tiamat, whose presence brought fear into the hearts of the giants who had seen him in a battle before. Tiamat, who screamed at his army that Baal of the moon was great and greatly to be feared above all gods. Tiamat, whose army argue about the statue of Baal of the moon, he and called down ice from the sky upon 100 on his own. Damn. Tahamat was 500. So army was 500 giants. So see how dumb those guys were. Out of 500 men, you kill 100 out of them, of your own people. Zokul the prophet of Mat. Zokul would never left Mat's temple until this time of the 100,000 giant war. Zokul, of whom Mat spoke wisdom through, Zokul was prophesied the victory of the 100,000 giant war and the coming for great waters. Zokul possessed by dark ones that stood on his shoulders. Zokul, who was aroused at the field of the battle, he so hated the Nephilim and lusted for their death. Zokul would drink the blood of the Nephilim he killed. Upon the field of battle, Zokul was possessed by a demon that none had encountered before. Zokul had the eyes of certain death, and in a possessed state attacked his own army, and he was murdered by them. Zokul army was 2,000 giants. See what the Most High did to those guys? They made them kill themselves. Atlan, one of the 2 tallest giants. So they had two tall giants. Okay, Atlan was one of them. Atlan, who was the two tallest giants from the furthest edge of the land. Atlan, who hounded his circumcision enemies day and night with fury. Atlan, who never feared but put his trust in Baal of the stars and celestial bodies. Atlan, who saw the Nephilim turn back in fear of his approach. Atlan, who swung his drivers and chaser, exposing the yellowing entrail, blood and bone of the circumcised Nephilim. Atlan, who twisted the circumcised. So Atlan was a beast. All right. Next page. It's probably the longest. Oh boy. Yeah, I said this one's gonna be 2 hours. They fill him spells and cursed against them with great cunning. Atlan, whose army marked the footstep and lay in wait for the circumcised Nephilim, who would collect the foreskin of the dead Rephaim in the field of battle. Atlan armies was 3,000 giants. Oh, he had a lot. Teotihuacan, one of the 2 tallest. So they got 2 tallest. They were the 2 tallest, Teotihuacan and Atlan. Okay, Teotihuacan, the 2nd tallest, from the furthest edge of the land. Teotihuacan, whose red hair hung about his head as a testimony of his strength. Teotihuacan, who hated the circumcised Nephilim with the unnatural burning hatred. Teotihuacan, whose army tore through the Nephilim as lions tore to the sick. Teotihuacan, whose giant sets fire with oil in the fields of battle and attack outside of it. Teotihuacan, whose worshipped Baal of the stars and celestial bodies. Teotihuacan, who broke the circumcised Nephilim teeth in their mouth with rocks and other objects. Teotihuacan, whose dark one drove him to pursue the Nephilim for days without rest. Teotihuacan's army was 3,000. Zakab, a hurler of stones and spear. That guy liked to throw things. It was said that Zakab could throw rocks and spears as mighty arms that were as large as a felled tree stump, never tired. That guy was sure. Okay, Zakab would live near the trees where the Rephaim tied their dead. Zakab, who had a dark one so powerful that he could not bound with chain, but that they broke as a thread of tow when it touched the fire. Zakab was sacrificed to Baal of the moon at dusk every evening. Zakab hated for the circumcised Nephilim was the substance of things hoped for, the evidence of things not seen. I wonder where you guys get that quote. Zakab, who had the eyes of a certain death. Zakab led the army of 1,000 giants who hurled stone and spears in battle. So those guys were throwers. So those clan was specifically, they were throwers. They were throwing rocks and spears. Balis, the finisher, who slew all the dying and wounding Nephilim in the field of battle. So these guys, he will go to the battle. Anybody that got hit or struck down, he will finish them. That's how they call him, Baalis the finisher. Baalis will stack the bodies of the dead Nephilim in large burning monuments to Baal of the earth. Baalis, who was said the Dark One favored, Baalis the soothsayer, will secretly worship Mount. Baalis, who will force wounded Nephilim faces to swim together before the brook-lined pottery is grasped. Baalis will lower himself to the ground and attack the circumcised as a beast of the field would. Okay, this guy fought like a savage, like a beast. He will crown like a dog, like a werewolf or whatever, and then attack other people. Oh. Next page. Finisher's army was 2,000. Baalis the finisher army was 2,000 giants who slew the wounded Nephilim on the field. Skyron, who had lost his arm in battle alongside with Galion. Skyron, servant of Baal of the moon. Skyron, who connected to a floating beast into battle. Skyron, who when connected looked like an elephant and grew his arm back. Damn. Skyron, who harvested an elephant, who harvested and drank the blood of the Nephilim and clay pots with Cain's. Skyron, who demanded that those who follow him shave their heads and ritualistic patterns as those would the heartlands of elsewhere do. Skyron, who trained the great beast to step upon the circumcised and told them steal until his army cut their throats and stomped their skulls. Before the water came, the field of battle was soaked with blood, and it was Skyron and his giant doing. Skyron army was 500 giants. Gog, the ugliest giant to walk before Baal of the earth. Gog, whose ugliness could stun a bull elephant, beast of the field. Gog, who while in trance spoke the words of Baal of the stars and celestial bodies. Gog, who prophesies of the great waters to come. Gog, who with his horrible visage led the first of the Rephaim to battle. Gog, who wrung Nephilim necks with hands that were dangerous weapons. Gog, whose terrible physical twisting was never undone. When Baal of the earth looked upon Gog, he looked with respect. Gog, who had the eyes of certain death. Gog army was 500. Like I said, the more disgusting, the worse you are, you will have respect under the giant. That's why our people, they make song about WAP, the most disgusting backwarded thing. Those things please Satan. When Satan see the children of God acting like this, twerking and do all those nonsense, he is pleased. All right then. Next giant. Oh, the dragon siblings. Woo! Again, people, see, they mention floating beasts and they mention dragon. Okay, there's a huge difference here. I don't know what those floating beasts are, but those guys mention dragon. The dragon siblings with white hair and blue eyes entering the 100,000 giant walls from the east. The dragon siblings that told of a wealthy city in the sky. Brothers and sisters, I showed this before. This is gonna be the longest video. A wealthy city in the sky. So let's pull a picture of Genesis DC city. Okay, all right, so this is Genesis. This comic book take part in the Fourth World by Jack Kirby. So they got this floating city right here. I did this every video that I mentioned. Oh, remember Jack Kirby created the fourth part. Okay, those who are giant gods and stuff, you need to read that. This is Isaiah. Okay, those guys were giants. So the floating wealthy city could be that city that Adam, could be Atlantis, because when you read, Atlantis was like this. That's why Atlantis fell off the sky and into the sea. It was like a floating city. Okay, so just like Superbia. Let's see if we can Superbia. Come floating. Oh, Superbia city. Oops. Oh. Okay, they trying to give me. Thank you, baby. They tried to give me the real Superbia.
You want juice or what?
Juice. Superbia comics. Let's try comics. Okay, and that comic city. There we go. See that city right here? That's like how Atlantis was. I'm not saying 100%, but this is what I keep gathered. So that was the wealthy floating city. That's why they keep the line of, they keep telling the line of Seth, don't go down and mess with the children of Cain, because the children of God were living up there, and Atlantis above, and the children of Cain was down there. So the children of Seth looked down, they see the children of Cain, and then went down and have sex with them or whatever. So this is just an example. All right. All right. I got interrupted, so I think we were at the dragon. Okay, the wealthy city in the sky. So there was I think there's still a city in the sky. It just like has technology that cloak it and you can see it. All right. So in this comic book, there's those people. Okay. You see, this is a black woman right here, and then those superhero powered people, they live on this city, and at the bottom of the city, it's like a nuclear war happened, and under here it's all messed up, and mutant live down there, and second people up there, it's like gods living there. So those people did not write the story originally, okay? They just swagger jack our books, and you can see a Superman like dude. Those were like the story of all people, and you know, and sex sells, so that's why they put the women in front of all the pictures, in front of everything, so they will sell. Okay, even the movie, the beloved brother, Big Judah was oh, no, not cast. Okay, even the movie's titled King Arthur, but who you see in the front, you know, they put the female on the front, and then so they can sell it, because sex sell. All right, they like to do that a lot. So that's why you see, you know, in the movie they will put it over there, and then because everybody will go to see the female. You know, and which is good, because if you were on those guys back then, 2 million giant men, and then you wouldn't go ahead and see a movie, or you keep seeing another giant dude, you know, you would want to see, you know, a female. So, all right, let's get back to business. All right. The dragon sibling that told a wealthy city in the sky. The dragon sibling who worship gods we did not know. The dragon sibling who were protected by the bright ones. The dragon siblings who draining army added 20,000 Rephaim to the battle. Damn. The kingdom of Og hired the dragon siblings with the gold strip from Baal of the earth temple. A curse forevermore is upon all of us for our purchase. The tales explain exploits against the circumcised. Are they not recorded in the wars of giants in the mountains? So I don't think we have that book. The wars of the giant in the mountains. All right, let's move on. Tarhunt the hungry, who ate many sour dead on the field of the battle, and who was spared from snakeness by a portion from Enceladus. So these guys was eating dead, rotten meat, and then he got sick, and then the Enceladus, the dude that sell potion, give him a potion. So Tyrant, he got healed back. So Tyrant, who killed as many uncircumcised Nephilim as Baalis the finisher. Tyrant, the Scar and Hungry, who attacked Thief first and killed with the driver and chaser. So this dude will bite you and kill you and then use that driver and chaser. I have no idea what that thing is. Tyrant, worshipper of Baal of the moon. Tyrant, who waited upon the dark ones and was of good courage and was strengthened by the Baal of the moon. Tyrant, who was surrounded by the voice of the dark ones and advised him. Tyrant, who prophesied the great waters. Tyrant, who said the eyes of a certain, who had the eyes of certain death. Tyrant army was 1,000. Meyer, who connected to a floating beast in battle. Meyer, who when connected looked like a rhinoceros. Meyer, who worshipped Baal of the earth. Meyer, who lifted a hillside and killed 300 circumcised with it. God dang. Oh, that guy left that guy left a hillside, a little mountain, and killed 300 Nephilim with him. Jeez. Can you imagine that war, brothers and sisters? Meyer, who was a lawless Rephaim and whose dark one hung about him like reeds by still waters. Meyer, who sang a whip for the beast and the bridle for the Nephilim and a rod for Nimrod's back. Wow, that's a rhyme right there. That's a bar. All right, yeah, yeah. A whip for the beast, a bridle for the Nephilim, and the rod for Nimrod's back. That's a bar. Man, Meyer was a rapper. You know, he dissed Nimrod right there. A whip for the beast, a bridle for the Nephilim, and a rod for Nimrod's back. All right, man. Meyer, whose commitment to Baal of the earth was complete. Meyer, whose eyes has been blackened and scorched in his quest for certain death. Meyer armies was 500 giant. So let's go to the next page. All right. This is really fun. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, I got like five more chapter. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. All right. I got 5 more pages to go. Okay, man, that's gonna be the longest thing we ever done. But that's like, hey man, you gotta study. Okay, so this dude, YAHAWAH. Okay, well, we don't want to be disrespectful. We call it YAHAWAH. Well, whatever. YAHAWAH, who scattered the pieces of the circumcised Nephilim on the field of battle. Let me just put this a little bit closer. There we go. YAHAWAH, who welcomed the dark ones of Mat within him. YAHAWAH, of brutal stature, who gave his dying enemies vinegar to drink. YAHAWAH, who carried the dead within him from the field of battle to tie to trees where the dark ones gathered. YAHAWAH, whose dark ones tormented the circumcised Nephilim so that they threw themselves down and dashed their stomach and skull open on the sharp rocks of the field of the battle. YAHAWAH, whose contention with the circumcised Nephilim was the bars of castle. YAHAWAH army was 1,000. RG, the red-headed. We know about this dude. He's the guy that cut Nimrod's penis. Okay, RG, the red-haired, who lost an eye once in battle. Okay, so that could be another RG. So because the previous RG was like a cyclops, they call it the single eye, the one eye. But right here, they say that RG lost an eye in battle. All right, let's go. RG, who took an eye of every circumcised Nephilim he killed, who hated Nimrod with all his soul and was responsible for Nimrod's original circumcision. All right, that's the same guy. So he lost an eye in battle instead of a cyclops. So RG, who was consumed by Baal of the stars and celestial body, that the dark ones gathered about him as a storm in the sand. RG, whose dark ones spoke through him and guided the Rephaim in battle. RG, who had the eyes of a certain death. RG armies was 1,000. Cacus, the dark Rephaim, from the heartland of elsewhere. Cacus, worshipper of gods we did not know. Cacus, whose hair was as ropes and whose back was broad. Cacus, whose dark ones broke the bones of the circumcised Nephilim. When told, Cacus, who wore high-ranking circumcised Nephilim army heads upon his waist. Cacus, who was scared by Baal of the moon, as he pronounced a broken incantation to raise the moonchild from the dead. Oh my God. Cacus' army was 1,000 giant. Quosel with crooked teeth. Quosel, who along with Zakab, soaked 1,000 cedar trees and oil, set them on fire, and threw them into the kingdom of the circumcised Nephilim. Quosel would shave his head, but his beard grew. Quosel would call upon the Baal of the earth to poison the rivers in the Nephilim's land of the circumcised Nephilim. Quosel, who was born half consumed by darkness, so that he never did one good thing. Man, Quosel, whose dark one engulfed him as the fire licks about the sacrifice. Quosel, who studied the ways of darkness until it was all that he was. Quosel's army was 500 giants. So again, every time you look at those guys, you're like, man, this guy is worse than the previous guy. Okay? Cobb the drunk. Cobb the keeper of vineyards, who connected to a floating beast into battle. Cobb, who went connected, was as bear. Cobb the drunken carver of idols and accursed objects of Mot. Cobb, whose carvings were imbued with the blessing of Mot and his dark ones. Cobb, whose mighty strength dug the uncircumcised valleys of Og's kingdom. Cobb, who had given his flesh to the dark one of Mot at an early age, and whose eyes were darkened. Cobb would say the following: let the giants serve Mot, and the nation bow down to him. Let Mot be the ruler of thy brethren. Let your brother and father bow to him. Cursed be anyone who curses Mot. There will be no blessing for you. Cobb's army was 500 giants. Okay? Latat, the Rephaim keeper of weapons. Latat, who taught the Rephaim how to kill with the driver and chaser. Latat, who secretly worship Mot. Latat, who was bled, is circumcised, I think. A circumcised Nephilim scream. This is the blood of the circumcised covenant, which is shed for the uncircumcised giant, to do this in remembrance of Mot. Swagger jacking. Latat, with red hair, will run mad in the forest under the power of many dark ones. Latat will mix animals and creatures into new beasts. He was making chimera. Okay, a chimera. All right. Or a chimera. Okay, so a chimera is like the head of a lion, the head of a goat, tail of a snake. Was that a snake? Whatever. So that's a chimera. So they used to take blood and make a lion goat, you know, and the Mosai is not happy when you do this. Okay, the Gentiles now, they try to discover this technology, but they can't. So okay, this is a chimera, three-headed animals like a dragon or whatever. So that dude was doing that. All right. Or chimera or chimera. Chimera can be another form of dream, like nightmare. All right, this is what these guys was doing. Okay, Latat will let's see, Latat will mix animals and creatures into new beasts with the power of Baal of the earth. Latat will place rods in the sight of the animals and the gutters so that they would mate strangely by the rods. Latat would not breed the animals that were feeble, for the feeble were for eating, but the strong, I believe the next would be, but the strong were for warfare. Latat was a natural beast, were both blessing and a curse for Baal of the earth. Latat homies was 500 giants. Yebsu the bastard, son of Baal of the earth with no descendable parentage. Okay, Yebsu was a bastard. Yebsu who ate the yellowing entrails of all he killed, so he will eat the intestine filled with fecal matter. Yebsu of old who conversed regularly with the bright ones. Yebsu, whose dark one made him as a beryl, with his face the appearance of lightning, and his eyes as a lamp of fire. Well, whatever, man. Swagger jack. Fire. And his arm and his feet like in color of polished brass. You see what those guys are doing here? Give me a second. Okay, so this is Revelation 1, 14 to 15, and his head, they were trying to describe, they are describing YAHAWAH, but again they try to swagger jack that. His head and his hair were white like wool. Give me a second. Again, you have kids, man, that's how it is. Revelation 1:15. And his feet like unto fine brass. They are describing YAHAWAH, Yeshaya, as they burnt in a furnace, and his voice as the sound of many waters. And his feet like unto fine brass, as if they burn in a furnace, and his voice as the sound of many waters. Okay, so the swagger jacket right here, they're trying to describe this guy Yebsu. Okay, if you look, the Y is like a J. Jebsu, Jesus. That's why they're trying to they call him a bastard, because you know he was born of God of the earth. So technically, they are calling YAHAWAH a bastard here. Okay, Yebsu the bastard, son of Baal of the earth with no discernible parentage. Because when you look at YAHAWAH, he didn't, you know, the priest of Mahan church, he didn't have a father. Like, he didn't have a biological father. His father was God, which is exactly what they told you here. Okay, when we know for a fact his father is Joseph, you know, his fleshy father is Joseph, and then his spiritual father is the Most High himself. So Yebsu, who ate the yellowing entrail of all he killed. Yebsu of old, who conversed regularly with the bright ones. Yebsu, whose dark one made him as a beryl, with his face the appearance of lightning, and his eyes as a lamp of fire, swagger jacking, and his arms and his feet like unto the color of polished brass, and the voice of his words as the voice of multitude of spirits. Yebsu, who knew the incantation to raise the dead. Yebsu army was 3,000. So they swagger jack the Bible, this verse, and his feet like unto fine brass, as if they were burned in the furnace, and his voice as the sounds of many waters. Okay, so they were taking things out of our book and then apply it to themselves, like they do all the time. Okay, and no sweat here, no sweat. All right, let's move it. Sundar the dark, referring him from the heartlands of elsewhere. Sundar will shave his head bald before Baal of the earth. Sundar will throw rocks and missiles over the field of a battle with Zakab, my apologies, with Zakab and Quosel, Sundar would set 7 dark ones by themselves within him that spoke through him in turn. Sundar would defend his army from his enemy, saying, I will defend this army to save it, for Baal of the earth's sake, and for the uncircumcised is the kingdom of Ark's sake. Swagger Jack. Sundar would deliver his army from the circumcised with unspoken fury. Sundar's army was 500 giants. Okay. Oh boy, I barely can make this video. What was Sundar? Okay, 500. Okay, Zaphon, high priest of Baal of the sun. Oh, this cat, man. Get up. My daughter's cat. Zaphon, high priest of Baal of the sun. Zaphon, which dark ones appear as the... Is that thing recorded? Oh, it is. Zaphon appears to as 3 dark giants flanking him. Zaphon, who was captured by the circumcised, dragged into Nimrod's kingdom and threw into a furnace. Zaphon, who cried out before the flame, shall I be cursed to die in flames as a high priest of Baal of the sun? Perhaps Baal of the sun has not redeemed us from the curse invoked, because we'll hang our dead on trees where the dark one gather after all. Nimrod then ordered the furnace to be heated 7 times more than it was usually heated. 15 of Nimrod's guards died from the heat as they pushed Zaphon into the furnace. Another swagger jack. The swagger jack, the story of Abraham, when Abraham was captured by Nimrod, and then they put him in the furnace. And he didn't burn, but the other dudes that they throw in there burned. And Abraham was walking on the furnace in the fire for 3 days. So yeah, whatever, man. Those people had nothing best to do. So it's like yo, you guys will never find out. We're so smart. Nah, man, you guys are giants. That means you're stupid. All right. Next verse. And Nimrod said, did I not put a Rephaim in the furnace? And Nimrod's God that remained replied, he was but one uncircumcised Rephaim. And Nimrod replied, look, I see 4 giants walking about loose in the fire, and one of them looked like Baal of the moon. Swagger Jack. Then Nimrod came near the mouth of the fire furnace and spoke and said, Zaphon, you servant of Baal of the moon, come out of here. And Zaphon exited the furnace. Not a hair on his head was singed, nor was his armor or weapon hot, nor had the smell of fire came upon him. Zaphon then said, I am the servant of Baal of the sun, but rightly you speak, because Baal of the moon, Baal of the earth, Baal of the stars, celestial bodies, and Baal of the sun were in your furnace. Zaphon was then beheaded by Nimrod. Zaphon army was 500 giants. So what they did here, because this dude was a high priest, they couldn't like give him a death like that is not honorable. Like when they take this dude, what Nimrod did, and originally he cut off his head, but I make it sounds like he took the stories of Abraham in the book of Jasher and then swagger jacket and said that okay, it happened to this dude. Man, this coward got caught, his head got cut off. Okay, Ornias, the willfully dark. Ornias, whose countenance was like lightning and whose raiment was white as snow. Whatever. Again, swagger jack. Ornias, who pray unto the eternal, immortal, invisible, and only Baal of the moon. Ornias, who captured the circumcised Nephilim, not to kill them, but that they should be tormented as the end of a scorpion strike it. Ornias, whose dark ones protect his body and heal his wounds. Ornias, whose dark ones hating him and whisper against him to devise his arm. Ornias, whose anger lasted for a lifetime, for has no favor for life, who wept until the morning and whose joy never came. Ornias, who remained close to Og in battle. Ornias, who had the blackening eyes of a certain death. All right, let's move to the next page. So you can, it's really discuss. Okay, all right, chapter 3 is done. Okay, let's make the final commentary. All right. So when you look at those guys, they are no different than the so-called Christians and Gentiles of today. So what they do, they just swagger jack everything. All right. Okay, they just swagger jacks your story. They put their name on it. They make their movie. And they make their Avengers movies, and there's Justice League movies, swagger jacking our stories and then claiming it's theirs. They make their Star Wars, the Jedis, the Israelites, and then they like, oh, it's our story. We originally come up upon it. Okay, come up with it. Like I said before, and I mentioned, quote unquote, the Vaticans, they have books there. They have experts. They will call, and then they will translate those books. And they will take the story and then manipulate it and then make it look like it's like something original they ever come up with, okay? And then when you start doing research, you're like, oh, okay, nothing new under the sun. You guys were doing this in old time, and then you're doing it now again. All right, so it's 2 hours. So anyway, I'll let you guys go. I'm going to see you in chapter 4. All praises to the Most High YAHAWAH, the Heavenly Father, in the name of the Holy Spirit, the Earthly Mother, sanctifying YAHAWAH, the Holy Son. Shalom.